Hello everyone, my name is Karen Visser and this is my co-host Antoinette.
I'm Antoinette Cloud from Brain Slim Learning Center, and my partner in crime is Elis Nell, and she's at school teaching at the moment. And your other half, she is somewhere.
She's also doing recordings.
Yes, absolutely, always recording.
Yes. So we're the owners of BioLink Brain Training and also the Study Methods Hub. And you guys are from Brain Slim.
Brain Slim Learning Center. We specialize in giving extraordinary extra classes to all academic subjects from grade 1 to 12.
Yeah, and we do identifying of cognitive skills that start on par, and then we develop those skills, and then we help with study methods and study skills at the study skills. Okay, so let's dig into this. We want to do this fast. Okay, so
yes.
we're talking to all the grade 7 to 8.
Grade 7 to 8. So parents, what you need to know. Academically, what do you do if there's a complete drop in your child's marks? Grade 7, he or she had 80% for maths, and now they barely scrape by. What is the problem? Is it academic? Is it emotional? Or does my child really understand? Or has he or she studied for the exam or the assessment? Now, parents, it's very important to stay calm because a lot of things happen at the start of a new term, a new school, and especially grade 8. Remember, it's the start of a new chapter for your child. And you have to stay calm to be able for them to embrace the emotional changes, the academic changes that's happening. So with the dropping of marks, pay attention to it. Is it academic? Were there foundational knowledge that was not grasped? What is the root of the problem? But I would say, just hang on for a moment. Rather compare it with your test or your, shall we say, a class test and then exam. And I would say, let the child ask the teacher what's happening and so forth before alarm bells goes off. But I would say pay attention to this because it's very important. It might be any of those that I've mentioned, and it's really crucial that you stay on board with that. But don't add on pressure to your child saying that, oh, what's this? Why are your marks? And so forth. Just be aware there will be a drop in marks. And some kids, they rock it, then they boom. I think you've seen it before. Then they boom, and then in the middle of the year in September, then it is a nosedive back into the 50s or the 40s or the 30%. So please pay attention because a lot of things happen at the beginning of that school year. We'll talk to that in a moment. I don't want to jump the gun. But you can talk to us about study methods and the skills.
A lot of times, especially when they go to high school, we found that there isn't any study methods or skills developed. They've never done it, or the parents have just shown them how to make a summary, and then I asked them, how did you do it? But like my mom showed me how to do it. And the way subjects are formulated now, the way they ask it during tests and exams, it looks totally different.
It does.
So they need to have a proper foundation of making summaries and learning. And we have found that they don't have it. Or then they get to us in the high school and they do have it, but it's wrong. Now to unlearn all those bad habits is terrible because they will come to a course and they will get it right while they're sitting there.
Yes.
And then on Monday, when they sit with science or whatever, and then how do I do this?
They can't apply.
And then they default back to the old ways.
Yes.
And then it doesn't work. So because study skills and methods, it's a skill like learning a new subject or a new language.
Yes.
It's actually, but you need to practice it. But also, there's different people ask us, do you teach them left brain, right brain, things like that? We don't believe in that. We teach them different methods because some methods is applicable to this subject.
Yes.
And so they mix and match.
That was very interesting because your subject that you study will tell you actually what method works.
Yes. There's never one.
Yes.
It's never one. It's a mingle, a mix of different.
Different ones. Absolutely.
Okay. But they need to know how to study. And on that subject, don't buy summaries. We're going to get to that.
Yes.
They need to summarize it themselves. You are not helping your child if you buy them summaries. Okay.
And lastly, let's talk about your child's well-being. You've got to understand that the competitive level is going to skyrocket, especially in grade 8, because they want to prove themselves, and the friendships also place pressure on them. So it's very important that you notice that competitiveness, that it doesn't overwhelm them or take over their emotional being. And then your parent as an expectation. I know some parents just want their children to be happy, but inadvertently the child places pressure on themselves because they want to please you. They want recognition from you. So it's very important that you consistently and continually reassure your child with emotional support and telling them that, listen, you can do it. Remember, we just want you to pass, and don't add that extra pressure, that because they're already in this pressure bubble. And then don't take away their independence. They have to struggle. As Karen said, it's so important that your child struggles, and it teaches them, how do I make a plan in a difficult situation? It's so easy for us as teachers and parents, because we want to help them, we want to do it for them. Don't. Even if you have to tie yourself to your door, please don't help them, because there's a reason why they have to struggle, why they have to find a solution themselves, because that develops their critical thinking. It develops their critical thinking, which helps them when they have to apply knowledge in a test or an exam, and when they come to a question that they do not understand and have never seen before, because the changing of questions is a test of your knowledge, isn't it?
Yes.
And remember, take into account, you as a parent, the emotional stress that your child is also undergoing. It's very important that you reassure, and even if they go through that teenage phase of slamming the door and you really want to start drinking full time, really just endure it. They will go through it.
Yeah. It's just a matter of time.
It is.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the 7 most common obstacles. Let's start with teaching.
And that's number 1.
Yes.
Teaching styles. Every teacher has a different teaching style, and it is important that your child adapts to that teaching style. You know, kids are more adaptable than we give them credit for. And once they have a personality clash with a teacher, then they block automatically against the subject as well. So it's very important that you don't add on to that block. And please just assist them, tell them, listen, but even if the teacher is moody or strict or whatever, see past that. That's just part of the personality or their makeup. Just look past it and focus on the subject. It's very important that your child can discern between the teacher's personality and the knowledge that I've got to grasp at the end of the day.
Because in the end, they're going to have employers one of these days.
Absolutely.
You know,
you're going to work with colleagues that you don't get along with. You're going to have a boss that you don't see eye to eye. So it's very important from that early age that you don't add on to the fire, that you subdue it and you just focus and say to them, listen, focus on the subject and not on the teacher.
Yeah.
And then we mentioned on the previous slide the critical thinking.
Because what happens, and I want to get back to the summaries, is that now they learn the work out of their head, so they can only give it back. But now the exam paper or test paper, they ask it a little bit different way, and now they don't know. Okay, but what is it now? Because they've learned they're not parrots. It's not going to work. Okay, they need to struggle. They really need to struggle. The example I always use with the small ones, the little ones, tell the parents that if they get to a stop, we have to find a solution. Because we are all in a hurry. We want to just get the work done. So let's just get the answer. No, they need to sit down, and you don't give them the answers. You tell them, you lead them with different questions so that they can get to the answers, because it's a skill. Because if they know that, okay, this is now where I'm at, okay, what questions can I ask myself? So if they go up in higher grades, they're going to have that way of thinking
Yes.
to get to the solution. So that's when they then get a paper, they will get to the answer
Absolutely.
Okay.
By themselves.
by themselves. Yeah.
Exactly.
All right.
And then listening skills are so important, especially in the class. Your child should take notes because teachers reveal a lot of tips in the class and kids miss it. I've had some teachers who actually repeat the entire exam paper, but because the kids don't listen, they don't write it down. So it's very important that you take notes in your class.
Yeah.
And if you don't have homework for that subject, that you still summarize your work on that day, because all the top matriculants have stated that their top tip is doing your bit every single day, because cramming doesn't work. We've
Yeah.
said that time and again. It's short term. It actually anxiety driven, because
Yes.
you've got to cram a whole textbook where if you've done your work every single day, then it's just revision and it's recap and it's so much easier.
Yeah.
And understanding what you read, that's so
Yes.
important there too, to have comprehension what you read. And that's why it's so important that your child reads aloud and retells the story. And parents, even if you are not a reader, you need to instill a love for reading. Your child has to read an English and an Afrikaans book over the term of the holidays. It's so important because reading actually is the crux and the basis of everything.
Yes, for sure. For sure. And if I can go back to listening,
Yes.
there's a difference. And we found that we see that children don't understand that there's a difference between hearing and listening.
Absolutely.
Because hearing is then I'm talking and you're looking at me and there's words coming out of my mouth. But listening is like Antoinette says, that I listen to the teacher, I make sense of what she is saying. And then if they don't understand, we teach them that. If they don't understand a word or whatever, write it down so that I
Yes.
can either go ask the teacher
Exactly.
or I can go find out in a dictionary. That's a good idea. Research is to go find that, because you know what, when they do that, if they follow that process, they're going to recall it so much easier.
Oh, yes. And it makes, if you start with the basics and you go the long way around from an early age, then it just becomes second nature the older you get. I
Yeah.
think you've seen that time
Yeah.
and again, that if you instill these basic routines, that is, shall we say, a longer route, but it's a long-term route. And if you do that, then it just becomes easier as you progress through your grades. And then schooling becomes easier.
Yeah, because in the end, we want independent learners.
We do, because then we'll have a workforce and employees who can think for themselves.
Yeah, and make plans and
That's what we want.
yes. Okay. So let's go to, this is a very important part. And I learned so much from Antoinette, because I never knew this is actually how it works. So I wanted to really explain, this is essential, parents, that you as a parent understand this, because sometimes there'll be a class test, and then I've been like that before I knew you now, that okay, but it's just a class test, it's not important. If you don't want,
Yeah.
and now
You make it up in the exam.
Exactly. So it doesn't work like that.
It's very important that you know, apart from the departmental weighting, the department gives you a weighting of marks in each subcategories. It's easier with the languages and the maths, but with social science and your, shall we say, your technology, you have then assignments like a technology project, and then you've got your exams. And it's very important because these projects, these other marks, class tests, as Karen mentioned, it's very important that you build up these marks and you pay attention to them, because they help you with your continual assessment for the year. That's your CAS mark. Especially if you have a bad day of writing exams. Anything can happen. We cannot predict the future, but we can at least do what we can to allow for something. If I have a bad day of writing exams, or nerves or anxiety overtakes me, Everybody has had a blank moment. Then you know, but I've done my bit. I have at least a foundation of my marks in that subject. Now with languages, it's divided into your speaking and listening, your writing, your literature, language structures, and of course your examinations. Now I'm going to pause a little bit on the literature. From grade 8 to 12, your literature is a section that makes part of language, and it has a large weighting. It's your prescribed books, and it's your dramas, it's your novels, and it is your poetry. Now, this is very important because that's study work, and that is where reading comes in. So if your child doesn't like to read, then the literature is going to be a struggle. Your orals, make sure that they prepare for their orals and that they have good marks for their orals, because that weighting is very high. Your writing, your friendly letters, your dialogues, your essays, all of those writing marks, I always say that's the lucky packet, because you can actually do well in those paper 3 marks, and then that will boost your mark at the end of the year, because we mentioned it in the Afrikaans presentation, that it's like a bad apple. A bad mark is like a bad apple, and it drags down all your good marks. Never mind if you got 18 out of 20 for a vocabulary test, it's sucked dry from that bad mark. So it's so important that you work throughout the year. So don't just think, oh, this is a class test or this is a writing. Oh, we did a friendly letter. Pay attention to these, because these marks are what will carry you throughout the end of the year.
And this is such valuable information.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. So I want to quickly talk about time management, because especially in high school, they are very excited because there's a lot of stuff happening. But even you as parents, sometimes you don't realize that there's not a lot of time. And things that students do is they overschedule themselves. So they think they can do a lot and then they will be able to do it, but they don't. I talk about time blindness. They don't realize how long things really take. So what we've come up with for you is just a small little tool to help them with time management and planning. Now, I'm giving you, and I'm going to email it to you, is your yearly plan, a weekly plan, and then a daily plan. So I just want to quickly tell you what I want you to do with this. So with the monthly plan, is normally we tell our children, you print out, let's say for next year, a January and a February, 2 months in advance. And then if February is finished, you put March. Why we do this is as soon as they put it somewhere where they can see it. As soon as they get an assignment, a test, a class test, whatever, they need to go there and they need to go write it up. Because, and why I'm saying 2 months is sometimes at the end of the month, there's a project on the 2nd of the next month, and then it's like, whoops, you don't want that. Why we do this, and especially for parents as well, you don't realize how long things take because it's in your head. But if you now see it in front of you, so a child sees, okay, I've got a maths test on Friday, I can't wait until Thursday, because that happens if it's not visible. So with a monthly calendar, what I want you to do is just write it down and let them look at it, because then they get a sense of, okay, how much time do I really need? So
that's basically an overview.
And then I've broken it up even in a weekly plan. So what you can do with these, the weekly and this one, is you can laminate it and then just, write with a marker on that. So the weekly is just, okay, what's happening this week? So that they can just, write it and rub it if they're finished. But this one, I want you to really pay attention to. So what I want you to do with this is I want you to go make a list of all the activities that's fixed, what your child is going to have. So rugby, choir, extra reading, extra maths, all of that. So I'm going to show you now here is I want you to mark. So let's say they've got rugby. This child has got rugby from 2 to 3. Just where's my hand there? 2 to 3 is rugby, right? But I've put 15 minutes. There's a red line there and a red line at the bottom, as you can see. Because remember, they still need to get to rugby, and they need to, now they're going to chat with their friends. So why I want you to do this is if you fill in all these blocks, what's left will be the white blocks. And that's when you're going to have a little bit of a heart attack. Don't get a stroke, because that's when, and they see and you see, but okay, Antoinette said,
where has the time gone?
Where's the time? I have to do my homework. I have to actually do every day's little work. Where's the time? And this is a really great way of letting them realize that they cannot overschedule themselves, because in the end, if they get poor marks, it's because they maybe are too busy. Okay, so this is really a cool tool to use. Just go sit with them, do it with them, because if you've never done something like that, they will need guidance, and maybe you are going to have an aha moment as well.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a revelation.
All right.
Absolutely.
So we want to quickly talk about what we can offer you to help you. Okay, so it's a package that we've combined the two businesses, and I'm going to quickly talk about the focus assessment.
Oh, he's very excited about that.
So the focus assessment is an objective scientific measurement of this different aspects, and I've got an example that I want to show you. So we measure attention span, brain processing speed, impulse control, and then we measure the effect that auditory and visual distractions has on someone's attention. Now, I've picked this one specifically because this was a student that came to us in grade 11, and the mother said that this child, the tutor, because he was struggling with maths, the tutor is not doing a job. And I said, okay, I understand why you're saying this, but let's
doing the blame game.
Yes, so let's just quickly go a little bit deeper. So with this one, I want to quickly show you, so consistency is attention. So the assessment is 20 minutes long, and it gives us a statistic view of how long this child can really stay attentive. So you can see the blue line is her attentiveness is 83% out of 20 minutes. So there's nothing wrong with her attention. What her problem was is her performance is brain processing speed. So she's not slow. Her brain just needs that second extra.
Yes.
So now what happens?
Repetition.
It needs that. And now, because now they fall behind. And that's where the assessment that she's going to, they are doing excites me so much, because now we can see, but okay, so we have to give a little bit more time, but that's why she's struggling, not because of the tutor. So she's too slow. So homework will take forever with this child. And another thing that was indicative here, okay, she's not impulsive, so that's great.
That's a good thing.
But what we could see here is that this is the distraction. So there's the visual distractions, there's the auditory distractions. We want to be over here. So this showed us, and I could show the student, because she's a hard worker. She couldn't understand why she's struggling. So when she goes into the math class, she's very boring. She's boring teacher, boring subject. So she cuts out.
She's in a bubble.
She never knew it because it's too low. So what I told her to do is take a piece of paper, because now we knew the route. And I said to her, okay, now you listen, and every now and again with her, if it's something that you don't understand, just write it down. Just write it down. So when she was now focused, she was more focused, and it worked. It was wonderful for her.
Wow.
So this is an assessment that not only helps the parent, it helps the teacher, but it helps the child valuable as well. And it's objective. It's not someone's opinion.
It's exactly, it's true to value.
Yes. And then yours excites me as well.
Well, what BrainSlim offers is your child on his or her academic assessment level. So we've divided it into 3 parts, your 3 main subjects that you have from grade 1 to 12, and that is English, Afrikaans, and mathematics. It's only an hour long, 20 minutes each, but we focus specifically on the assessment level. Is your child on the assessment level? Because as I said to you before, we are an extra class business, but we give extra classes in an extraordinary way. We do not follow a curriculum. So we go back to the building blocks that were not grasped, for example, in grade 4. So your child might have had a gap in grade 3 or grade 4, the transition from grade 3 to grade 4. And he or she has just gradually passed on, but those gaps are still there. And now all of a sudden it pops up in grade 7 or grade 8. And that's where we come in. We go back to the root of the problem, and then we repeat, we study it again, we teach it again. We help them again to grasp that foundation and to build that building block again before we move on to the next step, because you need to understand that the child is in the class, the teacher has a curriculum to follow, and even if he or she doesn't understand, then the next day the new concept is taught, but they haven't understood the first one. So, and that's what we focus on, and that's why the focus is, it gels with our assessment level academic one as well. And this package is really jam-packed, but it's awesome because your child is going to know exactly what his level is and what he can or she can achieve. And yet you've got the academic side as well. What we must focus
Where
on,
must we go?
where should we go?
And I want to really tell you, change your, and a lot of parents, you've got that. And I remember with Henry as well. As soon as you hear assessment, you think, okay, no, they're going to show me what's wrong
Yeah,
with my
exactly.
child. I don't want you to have an attitude like that. And assessment, see an assessment as a communication tool where it actually communicates to you where are the small little areas that your child lacks. And you know what? Then you can do something about it. Your child understands themselves. So just change your belief system around an assessment, because it's an awesome thing to help your child. It's just to give you the knowledge and the power to assist them, and then go.
And the better you know your child, the better you can help them.
Yes, for sure. So over here, okay, let me go there. We want to thank you for being here. If you are watching this on our YouTube channel, you can go to the description and then you can download the PDFs that I've talked about with the calendar. You can go download that, cool. And you will have all our information. You can go to our websites and then contact us with regards to the assessments. Okay, so we are very happy to have met you guys, and we hope you have a great day.
Absolutely, and thank you for your level of commitment, and do not lose heart, because the end is in sight.
For sure. Bye.
Bye.